What if I told you that most of your communication problems, misunderstandings, arguments, and even missed opportunities stem from just one thing: a lack of clarity? Think about it. How often do we say something only to realize the other person heard something completely different? It's not because we aren't speaking, it's because we aren't being clear. In this episode of Daily Stoic Habits, I'm going to walk you through the Stoic approach to effective communication, starting with what might be the most underrated superpower in today's noisy world: clarity. The ancient Stoics didn't have smartphones or email, but they mastered the art of saying exactly what they meant. No fluff, no vague words, just truth delivered with purpose. Why is clarity so powerful? Because it removes confusion before it even begins. Imagine a conversation where every word you say is understood the way you intended. No second guessing. No emotional fallout from poor word choice. Just clean, respectful, and impactful communication. That's not a fantasy. It's what Stoic wisdom can help us achieve. The Stoics believed that language was a tool, not a weapon. Misusing it, through exaggeration, dishonesty, or careless ambiguity, was seen not just as a communication failure, but a moral one. They taught that we must choose our words with care, as if every syllable carries weight. Because it does. And here's the truth. In a world that moves fast, where attention spans are short and misunderstandings are long-lasting, clarity is not just nice. It's necessary. Whether you're having a casual chat or navigating a high-stakes negotiation, clear communication builds trust, reduces conflict, and amplifies your influence. Mo Dan Sang Fan Tiep Theo. So how do we begin cultivating clarity in our everyday conversations? That's exactly what we're about to explore. I'll walk you through practical Stoic strategies, from simplifying your language to cutting through the noise with purpose and presence. But clarity is just the beginning. Because true Stoic communication isn't only about what you say, it's also about how well you listen. Let's dive deeper. The art of active listening. A Stoic superpower. I used to think communication was mostly about what I had to say, getting my point across, sounding smart, being persuasive. But the older I get, and the deeper I go into Stoicism, the more I realize this. Real communication begins the moment we stop talking. The Stoics understood this long before modern psychology caught up. Epictetus famously said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." That wasn't just clever wordplay, it was a profound insight into human nature, because listening, genuinely, fully, without distraction, is one of the rarest and most powerful forms of respect, and respect is what builds trust. So what does active listening actually look like? It's not just nodding while someone talks, it's not waiting for your turn to speak, and it's definitely not rehearsing your rebuttal while the other person is still mid-sentence. Active listening means being fully present. Your mind, your attention, your body language, they're all saying, "I'm here with you. I hear you. I care about what you're saying." It starts with stillness. The Stoics practiced inner calm, and that calm allows us to quiet the mental chatter. Instead of thinking, "What do I say next?" or "How does this relate to me?" you focus fully on the other person's words, tone, and emotions. You listen not just with your ears, but with your eyes and your heart. Imagine a conversation where you felt completely heard. Remember how powerful that felt? That's what Stoic listening can do, not just for others, but for you too. Because when we stop interrupting, when we pause to reflect before reacting, we create space for wisdom to emerge. Let me share a quick example. I once had a tense meeting with someone who disagreed with my entire approach to a project. My instinct was to defend, to explain, to push back. But instead, I leaned on Stoic training. I listened. I repeated back what I heard. "So if I understand, you right? You're frustrated because it feels like your input was overlooked. Is that fair?" And just like that, something changed. The tension softened. The conversation became real, not a battle, but a bridge. That's the power of paraphrasing, one of the key techniques in active listening. By reflecting back someone's words in your own, you're not only showing that you're paying attention, You're clarifying their message for both of you. Other techniques include asking sincere, clarifying questions, not to interrogate, but to understand. Can you help me see what you meant by that? How did that feel for you when it happened? These questions open up dialogue rather than shutting it down. And when paired with body language that shows empathy, like maintaining eye contact, nodding gently, and staying relaxed, you begin to create what the Stoics valued most: connection grounded in virtue. Now I know what you're thinking. But what if the other person isn't being respectful? What if they're just venting or attacking? That's where Stoic self-control shines, because active listening doesn't mean being passive. It means being intentional. You listen not because the other person always deserves it, but because you do. You deserve the peace that comes from not reacting emotionally. You deserve the clarity that comes from fully understanding a situation before deciding how to respond. And this is where Stoic communication becomes a kind of discipline. You train yourself to stay calm, to hold your tongue, to observe without judging. Over time, that muscle gets stronger. You'll find yourself reacting less, listening more. And the result? More meaningful conversations, deeper relationships, less regret. So how can you start practicing active listening today? Here are a few Stoic-inspired steps. Before a conversation, pause and remind yourself of your intention. Are you there to connect or to control? During the conversation, focus fully on the speaker. Put away your phone. Let silence be okay. Let them finish. After they speak, reflect back what you heard. Even a simple, "Let me make sure I got that right," builds understanding. Ask thoughtful questions, not to win, but to understand. And finally, observe your inner dialogue. If you catch yourself getting defensive or distracted, bring yourself back to the present. Remember, Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotions, it's about mastering them. And nowhere is that mastery more tested or more visible than in the way we listen. So the next time someone speaks to you, try something radical. Don't just hear them. Don't just wait to reply. Listen, like a Stoic, fully, calmly, humbly. Because active listening isn't just a communication skill, it's a way of honoring the moment, honoring the other person, and honoring your own commitment to becoming better. Up next, we'll explore how Stoicism helps us navigate difficult conversations, those moments when emotions run high, tensions rise, and words can either heal or hurt. You'll learn how to remain steady, grounded, and wise, no matter how stormy the exchange. Let's face it, difficult conversations are inevitable. Whether it's giving critical feedback, standing your ground in a disagreement, or addressing emotional topics with someone you care about, these moments can feel like walking a tightrope. One wrong word, one misstep, and everything spirals out of control. But here's what Stoicism taught me. Conflict isn't the enemy. Reacting poorly to conflict is. Most of us were never taught how to handle confrontation. We either explode, avoid, or shut down. And while those responses may bring temporary relief, they leave a trail of misunderstanding, resentment, and regret. The Stoics, especially Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, believed that conflict, like every other challenge in life, was an opportunity to practice self-control, to exercise reason, and most importantly, to live in alignment with our values, even when emotions run high. So how do you apply Stoicism when things get tense? It starts before the first word is even spoken. Before a difficult conversation, I pause and ask myself, why am I having this conversation? What do I hope to achieve? Am I calm enough to listen, not just talk? That inner preparation is key, because once you're emotionally triggered, your ability to reason drops. The Stoics would remind us, don't enter battle while you're already on fire inside. Instead, enter with composure. That's when you're truly strong. In one of my most challenging conversations, a business fallout with a close friend, I wanted to defend myself, prove my point, and correct everything I thought he misunderstood. But I knew that would only escalate things. So I started by acknowledging his feelings. I can see this really upset you. Can we talk it through so I can understand what happened from your side? That one sentence changed everything. He softened. He stopped seeing me as the enemy. Why? Because I wasn't fighting back? I was inviting connection. That's one of the core Stoic approaches to conflict. Lead with reason, not ego. When tensions rise, try this instead of reacting. Acknowledge emotions, including your own. You might say, "This is a tough conversation for both of us, but I'm here because I care." Seek common ground. Ask, "What's the outcome we both want here?" This shifts the tone from me versus you to us versus the problem. Avoid personal attacks or assumptions. The Stoics warned against labeling others. Instead of, "You're always so selfish," try, "When that happened, I felt left out." It's not about being soft. It's about being strategic and centered. Because when you speak from a grounded place, people are more likely to hear you. When you stay calm, you give others permission to calm down too. That's the quiet power of Stoic composure. It changes the emotional weather in the room. And let's be honest, sometimes even when you do everything right, the other person still loses their cool. That's where your practice is tested the most. In those moments, I remind myself, I control my words, my tone, my choices, not theirs. If the other person lashes out, I don't have to meet them at that level. The Stoics would call that stooping to vice. I choose instead to remain in virtue, to respond, not react. This mindset has saved me from so many regrets. You see, the goal of a difficult conversation isn't to win. It's to understand, express, and if possible, repair. And even when resolution doesn't come, you can walk away knowing you showed up with integrity. That's a win in itself. Here are a few Stoic strategies for your next hard conversation. Begin with intention. Clarify your purpose. Not to vent, but to connect, resolve, or clarify. Maintain your tone. Calm, respectful, measured. You don't have to mirror someone's anger. Be the steady one. Focus on facts, not attacks. Describe what happened. Share how it made you feel. Leave blame at the door. Pause before responding. A deep breath can be the difference between repair and rupture. Accept the outcome, whatever it is. You did your part. Let go of needing to control how they respond. Remember what Marcus Aurelius wrote. You always own the option of having no opinion. There is never a need to lose your temper. That's power, not loud, not aggressive, but steady, unshakable presence. One of the most powerful things Stoicism has taught me is that you can be strong and kind at the same time. You can hold boundaries with grace. You can speak the truth without cruelty. You can disagree without disrespect. That's real mastery. That's real growth. So next time a hard conversation comes your way, and it will, try seeing it not as a threat, but as training. Training in courage, in character, in compassion. Because in the end, the goal isn't just to be right. The goal is to be better. Let me ask you something simple. When was the last time someone spoke to you with no filter, no agenda, and no need to impress? Just honest, real words from the heart? Chances are, that moment stood out. Because in today's world where polished image often trumps honest character, authenticity is rare, and therefore, powerful. The Stoics understood this long before it became a buzzword. They believed that words must reflect inner virtue, not strategy, not manipulation, not self-promotion. In other words, don't just say what sounds good, say what's true, and not just factually true, but emotionally and morally true. Say what reflects who you are when no one's watching. When I first started studying Stoicism, I was focused on discipline, control, composure. But over time I realized something deeper. Stoic communication is also about honesty, vulnerability, and yes, even emotion, when it's grounded in truth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Never be ashamed to be helped, for it is your task to do your duty like a soldier in the storm." That's not just a call to humility. It's a reminder that there's strength in sincerity. So why do we avoid being authentic? Because it feels risky. It's easier to hide behind carefully rehearsed words. It's safer to play a role than to reveal our real selves. We fear being judged, misunderstood, or dismissed. But here's the truth. When we speak without authenticity, we may protect ourselves from rejection, but we also block connection. People can feel the difference between scripted and sincere. You've felt it too. That moment when someone says all the right things but something feels off. And then that moment when someone stumbles a little, pauses to find the right words, but you can tell they mean every syllable. I remember a conversation with a mentor years ago. I was trying to sound smart, rehearsed, put together, and at some point he just looked at me and said, I'd rather hear your truth than your perfection. That hit me hard. Because he was right. The Stoics weren't perfect speakers, they were honest ones. Seneca warned against flattery. Epictetus told us to avoid speaking too much or too cleverly. Their emphasis wasn't on impressing others with words, but on using speech as a reflection of inner alignment. In short, don't decorate the truth, deliver it. So what does sincerity look like in daily communication? It means saying what you actually feel, rather than what you think others want. To hear, it means admitting uncertainty, rather than pretending to have all the answers. It means offering a real apology when you've messed up, not a corporate-sounding statement that checks a box. And most of all, it means trusting that the real you is enough. Because here's the paradox. The more authentic you are, the more powerful your presence becomes. Not because you control others, but because people instinctively trust you. And trust is the foundation of all lasting influence. So let's talk practicals. How do you speak with sincerity and authenticity, Stoic style? Speak from inner conviction, not outer validation. Before saying something, ask yourself, is this what I truly believe, or am I saying this to be liked? The Stoics remind us popularity fades, integrity endures. Own your emotions, but don't be ruled by them. Being Stoic doesn't mean being emotionless. It means expressing emotion with awareness and purpose. Say, I felt hurt when that happened, instead of exploding in blame. That's power with softness. Admit what you don't know. There is wisdom in saying, I'm still learning, or I haven't figured that out yet. Stoic humility teaches that truth matters more than ego. Let your tone match your intent. Sometimes we say the right thing, but with coldness, sarcasm, or defensiveness. Sincerity comes through in tone, pauses, and presence. When you speak, with alignment, people can feel it, even if they don't agree with you. I once had to tell a close friend that I couldn't support a decision he was making. It wasn't easy. I rehearsed what to say a dozen times, but in the end I dropped the script and just said, I care about you. I respect your right to choose your path. But for my own peace, I have to step back from this one. He didn't agree with me, but he heard me. And we stayed connected because the words came from a sincere place. That's the power of authenticity, not controlling the outcome, but standing in your truth with compassion and clarity. And when you live like that, when your words match your values and your tone reflects your heart, you become unshakable. You don't need approval, applause, or affirmation. You have your own alignment. That's Stoic communication at its highest level. So next time you speak, whether in a meeting, a relationship, or a moment of conflict, ask yourself this simple question: is what I'm about to say true, kind, and necessary? If it is, speak it. If it's not, pause. Let silence say what words cannot. So here we are. We've traveled through the core pillars of Stoic communication: clarity, active listening, handling conflict, and speaking with authenticity. But knowing each principle on its own is only the beginning. The real transformation comes when we start to live these practices as one unified way of being. Because communication isn't just about the words we speak. It's about who we are when we speak them. It's the energy we bring into a room, the tone we carry in our voice, the steadiness we project even when the world around us feels chaotic. The Stoics didn't give us a how-to book. They gave us a framework for living. And that framework shapes not just how we think, but how we relate to others. Let me ask you something. When people talk to you, do they feel seen? Do they feel respected, even when you disagree? Do your words uplift or shut down, clarify or confuse, heal or hurt? These questions aren't meant to shame, they're invitations. Because at its heart, Stoic communication is about becoming the kind of person others feel safe around. Not because you're always right, but because you're consistent, calm, present, real. So how do we bring it all together? Start with clarity. Always. Speak simply, with purpose. Avoid dramatic language or vague statements. Say what you mean. Mean what you say. Before you speak, ask yourself, what is the most honest and direct way I can express this thought without causing unnecessary harm? Clarity isn't about being cold, it's about being respectful. When people know exactly where you stand, they feel secure even if they disagree. Make listening your daily ritual. Remember, 2 ears, 1 mouth. Make space in conversations for others to feel heard, not just superficially, but deeply. Reflect back what they're saying. Ask questions. Pause instead of interrupting. This alone will shift the dynamic in every relationship you have. Let conflict be a mirror, not a battlefield. When tension arises, breathe. Return to your center. Choose your words like a Stoic, with intention, not impulse. Speak to resolve, not to win. And if resolution isn't possible, speak in a way that leaves your own integrity intact. Bring sincerity into every exchange. Drop the mask. Speak from your real values. Own your truth without arrogance. Let people experience the you behind the words. Remember, people don't follow perfection. They follow presence. When these practices come together, you're no longer just communicating. In the normal sense, you're creating something more meaningful, a channel of trust, empathy, and wisdom. That's what Stoicism is all about. Using reason, compassion, and virtue to guide how we show up in the world. I've experienced this shift in my own life. When I stopped performing and started showing up. When I traded clever words for sincere ones, when I chose to understand before replying. Everything changed. Conversations became more peaceful. Tension faded faster. And most importantly, I started to feel proud of the way I carried myself, even in the hardest moments. Because let's be honest, there's no greater regret than walking away from a conversation knowing you betrayed your own values. But there's also no greater peace than walking away knowing you honored them. This is the communication foundation Stoicism builds. Clear words, open ears, calm minds, honest hearts, not flashy, not always easy, but always powerful. And if you practice it, day by day, moment by moment, you'll start to see something incredible. People will begin to trust you more. Even those who disagree with you will respect you. And you'll respect yourself, not because you said the perfect thing, but because you showed up as the best version of yourself. That's what Stoic communication offers us. Not a way to sound wise, but a way to be wise in how we speak, how we listen, and how we carry the truth of who we are into every interaction. So here's my challenge to you. The next time you speak, do so with clarity. The next time someone speaks, to you, listen like it's sacred. The next time conflict arises, meet it with calm. And every time you open your mouth, let it reflect your values, not your fears. Because communication is not just a tool, it's a reflection of your soul. And every word you say is an echo of who you are becoming. Due to time constraints, we will stop here. I hope this video is useful to you. If it can help you even a little, I will feel very satisfied. Save the video to your playlist if you want to listen to it again at any time. Please like and share it with many people because sometimes a timely message can change lives. And don't forget to subscribe to the Daily Stoic Habits channel. Press the notification bell so you don't miss the next valuable videos. Goodbye, and see you again.